People of God, listen to me. Life is not a straight road. It is full of valleys and mountains, storms and sunshine, tears and laughter. Every man and woman who ever lived will pass through seasons of fire. There are times when everything falls apart. There are times when prayers seem unanswered. There are times when you look around and it feels like heaven is silent. Those are the times when it feels like you are going through hell. But hear me, going through hell does not mean you are finished. Going through fire does not mean you are forsaken. The fact that you are in the fire is proof that God still sees something worth refining in you. Fire does not destroy gold, it purifies it. Fire does not kill purpose, it reveals it. So when you are going through hell, don't run from it, walk through it. Because what God does in the fire, He does nowhere else. When life turns against you, when friends abandon you, when prayers feel empty, that is when the real you is being born. Pain exposes pretenders. Trials remove masks. Suffering reveals sincerity. When everything is easy, faith is comfortable. But when the storm comes, faith becomes costly. That is where God separates believers from talkers, soldiers from spectators, worshippers from warriors. There are some lessons you can only learn in the fire. There are some anointings you can only receive through pain. There are some depths of God you will never know until you walk through the valley of tears. The place that feels like hell is often the classroom of heaven. When you are going through hell, heaven is not silent, it is teaching. The fire is not punishment, it is preparation. You say, "Man of God, why is this happening to me?" Because there is something in you that cannot grow in comfort. Diamonds are not made in silence. They are made under pressure. Gold is not found on the surface. It is mined from the deep. The oil that anoints kings is not produced in peace. It is crushed from olives. Every great destiny must go through a crushing before it shines. So when you are going through hell, don't curse the fire, understand its purpose. People of God, listen. The devil cannot destroy what God has built, so he tries to distract you in the fire. He makes you focus on the pain instead of the purpose. He makes you question God instead of trusting Him. He makes you look at how long it's taking instead of how far you've come. The enemy knows that if he can make you give up in the middle, he doesn't need to stop you, you will stop yourself. But hear me, your pain is not proof that God has left you, it's proof that He's preparing you. The teacher is silent during the test, not because he doesn't care, but because he already gave you what you need to pass. So when heaven seems silent, don't panic, stay faithful. When the fire gets hotter, don't run, stand firm. When hell opens its mouth, don't fear, lift your voice in praise. Because the darker the night, the closer the morning. When you are going through hell, you will lose some things. You will lose friends. You will lose comfort. You will lose control. But the fire only burns what you don't need. It never burns your purpose. It burns your pride. It never burns your destiny. It burns your dependency on people. It never burns your identity. It burns your insecurity. The fire comes not to destroy you, but to detach you from what you thought you needed. When Job lost everything, he didn't understand it. He was a man of faith, a man of prayer, a man of integrity. Yet he went through the fire. His children died, his wealth vanished, his health collapsed, his friends turned against him. But even in his pain, he said, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust him." That is the language of faith in the fire. That is the voice of a man who understands that going through hell is not the end. It is the beginning of greater glory. The devil wanted Job to curse God and quit, but Job worshipped instead. That is how you fight when you are going through hell. You don't fight with complaints. You fight with worship. You don't fight by explaining. You fight by enduring. You don't fight by running away. You fight by standing still. Because in the fire, your strength is not in what you do. Your strength is in who you trust. People of God, when you are going through hell, be careful who you listen to. Not everyone around you understands your process. Some will tell you to give up. Others will tell you to compromise. Others will mock your faith. But remember, people who were not with you in the furnace cannot understand the fire that formed you. You don't need everyone's approval. You need God's direction. The fire is not a place for opinions. It's a place for obedience. You see, when you go through the fire, the same heat that burns others will build you. The same storm that destroys others will deliver you. Because it's not about what you are going through, it's about who is going through it with you. When the 3 Hebrew boys were thrown into the furnace, the fire was 7 times hotter. But they were not alone. The king looked inside and said, "Did we not throw 3 men in the fire? But I see 4, and the 4th looks like the Son of God." That is your assurance. When you go through hell, God goes through it with you. Sometimes God doesn't take you out of the fire because he wants to show the world that he can preserve you in it. People expect you to break down, but you stand. They expect you to lose your mind, but you smile. They expect you to fall apart, but you worship. That is what confuses the enemy. That is what glorifies God. Not that you never face fire, but that the fire fails to consume you. You may be walking through betrayal, sickness, rejection, poverty, or loss. But remember, the fire cannot burn what is already surrendered to God. Hell can only touch what you refuse to hand over. When you surrender your pain to God, he turns it into power. When you surrender your tears to God, he turns them into testimony. When you surrender your scars to God, he turns them into strength. The enemy will always try to convince you that the fire is forever. But hear me, it's not. The storm will pass. The tears will dry. The night will end. Every fire has a limit. Every valley has an exit. Every test has an end. But you must walk through it. Don't pitch a tent in the fire. Don't make a home in pain. Don't settle in sorrow. Keep walking. When you are going through hell, don't stop. Go through. You say, but it hurts. Yes, it does. Growth hurts. Healing hurts. Change hurts. But pain is temporary. Purpose is eternal. Pain is the seed of power. Without the pain of the cross, there would be no power of the resurrection. Without the suffering of the seed, there would be no harvest in the field. Every time you feel pain, remember, something inside you is being born. People of God, don't mistake pain for punishment. God does not use pain to destroy you. He uses it to develop you. You say, but I prayed and nothing changed. Sometimes God doesn't change the situation because He is using the situation to change you. You are asking Him to remove the fire, but He is using the fire to remove what's blocking your blessing. When you're going through hell, you must learn to talk to yourself. You must learn to speak faith to your fear. You must tell your soul, I will not quit. I will not faint. I will not die here. Because the enemy attacks your mind before he attacks your life. He knows that if he can break your belief, he can break your destiny. That's why you must guard your heart in the fire. Feed your spirit with the word, not your mind with worry. Listen, when life gets dark, don't curse the darkness. Shine your light. When the fire gets hotter, don't curse the heat. Thank God that He's still working. When your prayers feel unanswered, don't stop praying. Keep pressing. Because in your persistence lies your promotion. The fire that tests you today will testify for you tomorrow. God does not promise a life without pain, but He promises peace in the pain. He does not promise a road without storms, but He promises safety through them. The presence of pain is not the absence of God. It's often the proof that He is close. The closer the fire, the closer the Father. You don't see Him, but He's there. You don't feel Him, but He's working. He's turning what the enemy meant for evil into good. The devil uses the fire to make you doubt God, but God uses the fire to make you discover Him. You thought you knew God when life was sweet, but you really find Him when life is bitter. You thought you trusted Him when the bank was full, but you really learn faith when your hands are empty. You thought you had peace when everyone loved you, but you learn true peace when everyone walks away. The fire introduces you to the real God. When you are going through hell, don't let your emotions decide your direction. Feelings will fail you, but faith will guide you. You may feel abandoned, but you are not. You may feel forgotten, but you are remembered. You may feel defeated, but you are destined. Feelings are temporary. Faith is eternal. Some of you right now are in the middle of the fire. You cry at night, but no one knows. You smile in public, but you are breaking in private. You pray, but it feels like the heavens are made of brass. You give, you serve, you believe, but nothing seems to change. And the devil whispers, "Where is your God now?" But I tell you, your God is right there. He's in the fire with you. You can't see him because he's holding you. You can't hear him because he's carrying you. You can't feel him because he's fighting for you. People of God, hear me. The fire that you are crying about is the same fire that will make you shine. You will come out stronger, wiser, purer. You will look back one day and realize that what you thought was hell was actually your training ground for heaven's assignment. Every tear you cried was watering the seed of your next testimony. Every rejection was redirection. Every delay was divine protection. The devil will try to convince you that you are finished, but what he doesn't know is that every time he turns up the fire, he's helping God refine you. The hotter the fire, the purer the gold. The deeper the pain, the greater the purpose. The bigger the battle, the brighter the blessing. So don't curse your pain. Thank God for the process. When you are going through hell, the key is to keep moving. Hell is not your destination, it is a passage. The valley is not your home, it is a hallway. The storm is not your identity, it is your test. You may walk through fire, but you will not be burned. You may pass through water, but you will not drown. The same fire that consumes others will only complete you. The same storm that wrecks others will only refine you. When you are in the fire, keep your eyes on God, not the flames. When Peter looked at the waves, he began to sink. When he looked at Jesus, he walked on water. Focus determines endurance. If you look at the fire, you'll fear. If you look at God, you'll rise. The enemy uses distraction as his greatest weapon. Don't let your focus be stolen by the flames. Let it be fixed on your faith. There is always glory after the fire. After Job's pain came double portion. After Joseph's prison came promotion. After Daniel's lion's den came distinction. After the cross came the resurrection. Your story is not over. The fire is not your finale. It is your formation. The tears are not your weakness, they are your worship. The pain is not your punishment, it is your preparation. When you are going through hell, don't waste your fire. Don't waste your pain. Let it push you closer to God. Let it teach you dependence. Let it build your endurance. Because when you come out, you won't come out empty. You will come out with wisdom, with faith, with power. You will come out with a story that will set others free. You may not see it now, but there is purpose in your pain. There is growth in your grief. There is strength in your struggle. The same fire that tried to kill you will become your testimony. The same valley that made you cry will become your message. You are not dying, you are developing. You are not being punished, you are being positioned. So when you are going through hell, hold on. Keep walking. Keep believing. Keep praising. Keep standing. Because the fire cannot last forever, but your faith can. The storm cannot roar forever, but your spirit can endure. Hell cannot hold you, because heaven has already claimed you. You are built for this. You are chosen for this. You are stronger than you think. When you are going through hell, remember, fire reveals true faith. Fire separates the real from the fake, the called from the comfortable, the faithful from the fearful. Don't despise your fire. It's proving your authenticity. It's proving your faith. It's proving your future. When you are going through hell, lift your hands even when they shake. Sing even when your voice cracks. Pray even when your words stumble. Stand even when your knees tremble. Because faith is not the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. Courage is not feeling strong. It's standing when you feel weak. When you're going through hell, don't pray for the fire to end. Pray for the strength to endure it. Don't pray for the storm to stop. Pray for peace in the middle of it. Because sometimes God doesn't calm the storm. He calms his child. He gives you power to walk through what you once ran from. The same hands that allowed the fire will carry you through it. The same God who watched you enter the valley will walk you out of it. The same voice that spoke light into darkness will speak life into your ashes. Nothing you're facing can separate you from his love. Nothing you're enduring can erase his promise. When you're going through hell, just keep going, because there's a place called through. You will not die in the fire. You will come out refined. You will not drown in the flood. You will walk out renewed. You will not be buried in your pain. You will rise from it with purpose in your hands and fire in your spirit. People of God, listen carefully. When you walk through hell with faith, hell becomes your testimony. There are moments in life when the ground beneath you feels like fire, when the heat of trouble surrounds you, when everything that can go wrong seems to go wrong at once. In those moments, it is easy to feel that you are abandoned, forgotten, left to burn. But faith does not look at the fire. Faith looks at the one who has control over it. Faith walks through what fear runs from. Faith holds on when everything says to let go. Faith is the only voice that says, even if I am surrounded by flames, I will not bow, I will not break, I will not burn. When you walk through hell with faith, you don't come out smelling like smoke. You come out shining like gold. The problem is that most people see the fire as a sign of failure, but the fire is a test. The fire is an examination room where heaven checks the authenticity of your belief. Anybody can sing when life is smooth, but can you still worship when life is burning? Can you still say God is good when the world calls you a fool? Can you still stand firm when the people who promised to stand with you disappear into the shadows? Faith is not proved by comfort. It is revealed by conflict. Hell is not only a place of torment. Sometimes it's the season of testing. Every destiny must pass through a refining process. You can't carry divine power without walking through divine pressure. You can't speak of deliverance if you've never felt the chains. You can't heal others if you've never been broken yourself. God allows his chosen ones to taste the fire so that when they stand before others, their words carry the weight of heaven. A man who has walked through fire speaks differently. His voice carries authority. His prayers carry power. His tears carry testimony. When you walk through hell with faith, you are telling God, I may not understand this fire, but I trust you in it. That is the highest form of faith. Not the faith that moves mountains, but the faith that stands in the fire when the mountain refuses to move. Not the faith that avoids pain, but the faith that endures it. There are levels of faith that are built only through suffering. You cannot develop spiritual muscle in comfort. The fire makes you lean on God in a way success never will. The devil wants to use the fire to destroy your belief, but God uses it to deepen your dependence. That is why you must never let your faith die in the fire. When hell rages against you, don't shout at the flames. Speak to your soul. Tell yourself, this fire will not finish me, it will furnish me. This pain will not end me, it will expand me. Because the moment you begin to see the fire through the eyes of faith, the fire begins to lose its power. Faith does not deny the fire, it walks through it. Faith does not pretend that the pain doesn't exist. It declares that the pain won't win. Faith is walking into the unknown with confidence in the unseen. When the 3 Hebrew boys were thrown into the fiery furnace, they didn't know what would happen. They said, even if our God does not deliver us, we will not bow. That is what it means to walk through hell with faith. It's standing in the middle of heat that could kill you and still believing that the God who allowed it can control it. When you walk through hell with faith, the fire changes from something that burns you to something that brands you. You come out marked by God. You come out with scars that speak louder than sermons. Every scar is a story of survival. Every burn becomes a badge of honor in the spirit. Because the very thing that was meant to destroy you becomes the evidence that you are unstoppable. The devil hates scars because they remind him that he failed. Every time you look at what you've survived, you are looking at proof that hell couldn't hold you. Sometimes God does not take you out of the fire because He wants the fire to take out what is not needed in you. Faith doesn't just trust God to deliver. It trusts God to decide how to deliver. You may say, why didn't he stop the fire? But if he stopped the fire, you would never know that he can walk with you inside it. You would never know that his presence is greater than the pain. You would never discover the God who stands in the furnace until you are thrown in. When you walk through hell with faith, you discover a side of God that comfort hides. You meet the God of the valley, not just the God of the mountaintop. You meet the God of tears, not just the God of triumphs. You learn that his strength is made perfect in weakness, that his grace shines brightest in darkness. You learn that faith is not an escape, it's endurance. It's the courage to say, I am still here, I am still standing, I still believe. You see, the fire is not designed to destroy your future. It is designed to destroy your fear. The devil's weapon is intimidation, but faith disarms him. When you refuse to bow to the heat, hell becomes powerless. That's why the Hebrew boys came out of the furnace without even the smell of smoke. When you walk through hell with faith, what tried to define you fails to identify you. You come out looking like you never went in. The only thing missing is the chains that once bound you. Faith is what turns pain into purpose, wounds into wisdom, battles into breakthroughs. Without faith, the fire consumes. With faith, the fire transforms. Every person that God has ever used mightily has walked through something that could have destroyed them. Look at Joseph, thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, thrown into prison. But through faith, every pit became a platform. Look at Daniel, thrown into a den of lions, but faith shut the mouths of beasts. Look at David, chased, hunted, betrayed, but faith made him a king. You can't have a crown without a cross. You can't have glory without going through something that burns. When you walk through hell with faith, you stop asking, why me? And start saying, use me. Faith turns victims into vessels. Faith says, if this fire can reveal your glory, Lord, let it burn. That's when heaven begins to trust you with influence, because faith proven in pain cannot be shaken by praise. Many want the anointing, but not the crushing. They want the power, but not the pressure. But God does not anoint the unbroken. He does not entrust fire to those who have never been tested by it. Walking through hell with faith means trusting God, even when his plan hurts. It means saying, I will still pray even when the answer is delayed. I will still worship even when the healing hasn't come. I will still serve even when I'm tired. That kind of faith terrifies hell because it cannot be bought, broken, or bribed. When the enemy sees that your faith is fireproof, he realizes that no weapon formed against you can prosper. The fire you are in now may not make sense, but faith does not require understanding. It requires obedience. Abraham left his home, not knowing where he was going. Moses walked into the Red Sea, not knowing how it would part. Joshua marched around Jericho, not knowing when the walls would fall. Faith walks even when it cannot see the path. Faith says, I don't need to know how, I just need to know who. When you walk through hell with faith, you begin to see miracles that fear will never see. You begin to walk on waters others drown in. You begin to find peace in storms that drive others mad. Because faith shifts your vision. You stop seeing fire as destruction. You start seeing it as divine construction. You realize that God is not trying to kill you. He is trying to reveal you. There are people watching you in your fire. They think you are finished. They expect to see ashes. But what they will see instead is glory. Because when you walk through hell with faith, your life becomes a living sermon. Without saying a word, you preach to the world that God is faithful. Your survival becomes your message. Your scars become your ministry. Your endurance becomes your evangelism. People are watching how you walk through the fire, and your faith may be the only Bible they ever read.